All right, everybody, here to talk a little bit about this whole Covington Catholic School thing. For those of you who don't know, Covington Catholic School is an all-boys Catholic high school. It's apparently in Tennessee, Kentucky, something like that. That part of the world. At any rate, they all went to the March for Life because, of course, they did. Catholic high school. That's the kind of thing they would do. And they showed up, and apparently they have this one spot on, I believe, the Lincoln Memorial where they go every time. They always go to this one spot, and they've been doing it for years. And this year was no different. They went there, and as they showed up, though, it was a little different. Rather than just doing their thing, standing there, holding up their signs, there was a couple of different groups that were also protesting at the same time. They had nothing to do with the March for Life. One was from some black separatist group. I believe there is something about Muslim affiliation, but I'm not exactly sure about that. But the point is, they're crazies, white people bad, stole the land, blah, 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 blah. And so apparently, if you look at some of the videos that have been subsequently published or put on the internet regarding what happened on Friday, you can see these guys, and they're saying some really horrible stuff to these kids. I mean, these are high school students, and there's all this racist invective coming from these guys. And so, these kids from this Catholic school, they didn't really know what to do. They're just kind of standing around doing their thing, trying to best they can to ignore this group of African American guys who are really, really upset with them and saying some really horrible things. Well, then at some point, what happens is this dude, his name is Nathan Phillips, I believe. He's not just some guy. Okay, in the media, the mainstream media, they're making out to be this guy's an elder in an Indian reservation, and he's a spiritual guy, and he just went because this day happens to be some day that Native Americans come to protest the fact that their land was stolen, which I'm sorry, that question was resolved almost 200 years ago. Just is. Get over it. Whatever it is, what it is. I know, okay, I'm horribly insensitive by saying that, but, reality is what it is. At any rate, so this guy shows up, and the narrative is that these MAGA hat-wearing goons from this Catholic school just accosted this poor guy and were like screaming at him and telling him all these horrible things and calling him names. And he was just there trying to do this song of his people and banging on his drum, and these vicious, mean, racist MAGA supporters, MAGA guys, came and accosted this dude, this Indian dude. But turns out that's all baloney. That's all baloney. Okay, so this Nathan Phillips cat is a activist. He's a pro. He's a professional activist. I have no idea who's paying his bills. I have no idea who's paying for his rent or his, food, whatever. I don't know. But what I do know is that you name it, all the hardcore left-wing things that might even have a slight, annex with Native American affairs. This guy's there. The stupid DAPL pipeline thing, he was there. It's what he does. He's a professional activist. He literally makes his living, gets paid to be an activist. So what really happened, now that the videos come out, is this Phillips cat is standing kind of far away with a couple of his buds, and not many of them. That's the thing. This, Native American Day of, sadness or whatever the heck it is, was a tiny, tiny little deal. It wasn't even like there was a lot of people there. It was just him and a couple of his buds. And so apparently all these African separatist guys are like giving these Catholic kids a hard time, and Phillips decides he's going to go and check it out, and he inserts himself into this protest. And if you look, so one of the things, this white male future patriarch just smirked in Nathan Phillips' face. And if you actually look at it, you tell me, what's the deal? So, here you go. Here's all these images. Wow, look at that little patriarchal oppressor. Look at him staring into the eyes of the man he wants to oppress, right? He's just smirking. Ha ha, I'm privileged and you're not. Is that what happened? not according to what came out later. If you can look at this, you can see that this drum is like 6 inches from this poor kid's ear. And this activist douchebag is literally pounding on this drum right next to this kid's ear. And when he first shows up and starts beating on that drum, apparently, if you watch the videos, you can watch, all these kids are like, oh, well, he's joining in on our protest. You know, we're going to honor this guy. We're going to cooperate. We're going to go along. And they start singing along with his chant and stuff. And this poor kid who's getting this drum beaten right in his ear, he's like, what's he going to do? I mean, he doesn't know what's going on. Is this guy hostile? Is he friendly? He doesn't know. So this kid's sitting there smiling. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to smile. Why? Because there's cameras. There's cameras all over the place. They're live streaming this stuff on Facebook. They're putting it on Twitter. And here's this kid sitting there dealing with this guy who's literally in his face and banging a drum in his ear. So he decides to just sit there and smile. Which, you know, for a kid who's 16 or 17 years old, that's a pretty bright thing to do. You don't get in his face. You don't yell at him. You don't, cause a scene. You smile. It's supposed to be nondescript, right? You could be smiling because you agree with what he's doing. You could be smiling because, you appreciate that he's joining in this pro-life protest. The reality is, this kid, if you really look at that face, and not just this picture, but if you look at the video, that kid is terrified because he knows the cameras are on. He knows that he's going to wind up representing his school and his faith to the world. And so he's just going to sit there and smile. What's the worst that could happen, right? He's just smiling. Well, guess what? BuzzFeed turned him into the face of white supremacy because of that smile. And if you watch that video, it's very, very clear. That poor kid is sitting there trying to figure out how to react to this crazy old man who's banging a drum in his ear. And immediately, overnight, within 24 hours, this turned into an absolute just 2-minute hate fest on Twitter. The Washington Post picked it up. Maggie Haberman from the New York Times actually came out and said that all these kids should be expelled from their school. Okay, so these kids are going to an elite Catholic school, and now you have a respected reporter from the nation's paper of record who's saying these kids should be expelled. And they did nothing wrong. They're standing there trying to figure out what to do with these crazy people who are hurling, in the case of the black separatists, they're hurling racist invective at these poor kids. And then you've got this Native American dude who's beating a drum. And I'm sorry, if you're doing something that's loud in somebody's ear, that's an assault. That's an assault. When you're doing something that is causing physical discomfort to someone against their will, that's a crime. Now, no one's going to prosecute this. No one's going to prosecute this for obvious reasons. But the legal definition of a battery is the slightest touching done in a rude or angry way, and it can be done through another medium. It can be done through making someone else touch someone. It can be done through throwing at someone. And, yes, it can be done by using sound. You can beat a drum near someone's ears, and if it is loud and obnoxious, and if it is in a rude or angry way, guess what? That's a crime. And this scumbag should have been arrested. But no, they didn't arrest this guy. Instead, they made him a hero. They put him on Twitter, they put him on Facebook, and they made him out to be this hero who is, in actuality, accosting these kids who were doing a pro-life rally, and they had nothing to do with this Native American activist. They were just minding their own business, doing their own thing. But this guy, not only did he come and screw it up, he brought a bunch of cameras with him. And now everybody hates this poor kid. Okay, he's going to be applying to colleges in a couple years. A couple years after that, he's going to be trying to apply to go into industry. What's going to happen when this poor kid tries to interview with Google? He might be a brilliant computer programmer. He might be a great marketing guy. He may be an artist. We don't know. But here's what I do know. He shows up in interviews at Google, and the social justice warrior mob is going to show up and demand that he be either not hired or fired or chastised or forced to sign some kind of statement saying, apologizing for a bunch of crimes he didn't commit. And that's the thing that ticks me off the most about this kind of thing. That the people from the Women's March, Tamika Mallory, I think is her name, and then, of course, Linda Sarsour, all those people, they're forgiven for sins that they're not repenting of. They don't care. They're happy to support Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam. They're proud of the fact that they hate Jews. And they're never asked to apologize for that. They're automatically forgiven. But here's this poor kid who's done nothing wrong. And he's going to be expected to spend the rest of his life groveling and apologizing for a sin he never committed. It's just wrong. Here we are going on 24 hours, almost 48 hours now of this, Twitter 2-minute hate. And how much you want to bet 3 or 4 days from now, after the truth comes out, after all the videos come out, and for all the people start going to the press and going, oh, actually it didn't happen that way. Is anyone going to report on that? Is anyone going to remember it? No. All anyone's going to remember is that these white, privileged boys about to be men assaulted a Native American, said horrible things because they're racists. And that charge is going to follow this poor kid and his buddies for the rest of their lives. For the rest of their lives, because the internet never forgets. But know what the internet will forget? The fact that it's all nonsense. The fact that it's a hoax. It's really sad. It's a terrible commentary on where we are in America today. The truth's out there, folks. Here's the thing about this issue. Do you really think a bunch of kids going to an elite Catholic school who, presumably if all got good grades, who are all bright, don't commit crimes, all this stuff, do you really think they're going to be dumb enough to do something racist when everyone's camera is out and live streaming it? How stupid do you have to be to believe that? And aren't you offended that the press expects you to believe that? You should be. They think you're that dumb. And you know what? A lot of your friends are that dumb. They really are. They're willing to buy this hook, line, sinker. When this story first came out yesterday, I was like, nah, there's something going on here. This is taken out of context. So I Googled it. And at first, there was nothing out there. I'm like, all right, I'll let it go. I'll give it 24 hours. And here we are. Just like the Rolling Stone hoax rape article, just like the Duke lacrosse rape case. When you hear these stories, they're just too good to be true. They're right there with the narrative, right? This privileged, white, evil, racist, scumbag kid did something horrible on camera. Nobody's spider sense on go, wait a minute, really? Is that kid that stupid? The problem is this kind of issue hews too close to the narrative of that, white privilege. Look at this kid. This kid, here he is. This kid, he looks like every villain from every 80s movie about snow skiers, right? Do you think that kid is real? Do you think that evil kid actually exists? And if that kid does exist, is he so stupid that he's going to do something racist when everybody's got their phone out? World star, man! No, it didn't happen. But the thing is, here's the deal. Those leftists that are out there, the part of the resist movement, are so convinced, they're so sure that there's just an army of racist dirtbag white people out there. They've just been so empowered. Thank God Trump won. Now we can finally be the racists we really are. Do you really believe that? It's idiotic. I'm sorry, it's stupid. And if you believe that, sorry, you're stupid. You're dumb. It's not true. The evidence is there. But they're so convinced that this stuff is out there that they're willing to jump on a story that's as stupid as this one. It's dumb. Of course this kid wasn't trying to be racist against some Native American dude. Of course not. It's stupid. It didn't happen. And those folks that jumped on it and believed it and then published in the New York Times and the Washington Post that this happened and didn't for a second think, I better take a deep breath, I better get some people there, and I better interview the people involved. They didn't think about that. No. They just, of course, it makes sense according to their worldview. Of course these kids are racists. Of course they're privileged scumbags. Of course, look at him. He's wearing a MAGA hat. He must be the evil person that I, in my racist little bigoted mind, think he must be. And so, out come the reports. And now we have 48 hours of hate directed at this dumb, poor kid who got stuck on the Lincoln Memorial, whose message was just trying to be, we support the life of the unborn. And now everyone's talking about him. I'm talking about him. I don't want to talk about him. This poor guy. At any rate, hope you've enjoyed this rant. Don't intend to do this often. I got this camera and I got this, NVIDIA recording thing, and I'm just trying it out. And hopefully I haven't made a complete moron of myself. And thank you for watching. If you've watched it this far. I don't think many people have. But okay, how do I turn this dang thing off? It doesn't want to turn off. Nope, that's not it. No.